Very well. Now, it is emerging that Kenyans are actually willing to give a bribe to get permanent jobs in the military and in other government institutions. Why is this phenomenon happening? Also, the job market is equally shrinking by the day. What new opportunities are coming up in the market? Today, we dot the I's and cross the T's on all this with my panel of guests in studio today. You're right on time for Business Cafe, your Dawn Business Update. I am Brian George Otieno. We have a lot lined up for you. Of course, Abia Gina is also in the Expo 2020 in Dubai. This and so much more. Let's get it off with the fuel prices. Fuel prices will remain unchanged for the period 15th February to 14th March 2022. Of course, this is thanks to the fuel levy that has been instituted by the government. Let me give you the prices now. Super petrol will retail for 129.72 shillings. Diesel at 110.60 Kenya shillings, and of course kerosene at 103.54 Kenya shillings. The impact of the petroleum development levy has kept the prices intact, with the actual price of super petrol at 144.25, diesel at 133.89, and kerosene at 119.42. That's right. Let's talk about reforms in the SACCO and the financial services sector. The SACCO Society's Regulatory Authority, SASRA, has today commenced stakeholder consultations on proposed levy on the deposits of specific non-withdrawable deposit-taking SACCOs to fund its expanded functions. These developments come hot on heels on the regulators issuing 185 non-withdrawable deposit-taking SACCOs with licenses to operate for the period January 1st, 2022 to December 31st, 2022.
25, which we were raising money from the deposit-taking SACCOs, we are moving to 360. And like as I said, the framing of these regulations is such that every month there is a SACCO reaching 100 million, and therefore automatically they come to SASRA. Two, and I think that answers the question of, unscrupulous kind of SACCOs, is that what we are having is that the new regulations also mean the digital, whether you have 100 million or not, but you want to operate digital, that is virtually, or you want to recruit members from diaspora. From day one, you have to come under us. And that therefore means operationally you have to build capacity, because that also requires a lot of surveillance in capacity. Both you are visibly online and you're able to collect data that you can actually act on as a regulator, no speculation.
Let's take you across borders. In Kenya is this morning hosting a high-level business forum in Dubai, UAE, where President Uhuru Kenyatta is expected to lead a high-powered business delegation to strike various bilateral agreements with the Gulf Council of Countries. KTN's Deputy Economy Editor Abia Gina now joins us with the latest.
Well, it is day 2 of the Dubai Expo here at the United Arab Emirates. And today's focus will be on the business forum, where various countries will be making the pitch, and Kenya will be taking the center stage when it comes to engaging with the Gulf countries from Qatar, Bahrain, UAE, among others, where Kenya is looking to position itself as the main gateway into Africa. We spoke to some of the business leaders, and this is what they had to say.
And as we speak right now, we've had about 13 million people have visited Dubai at the moment at the Expo. So this offers an opportunity for us to showcase our innovations, our investment opportunities, and also our tourism destinations. For instance, we know that Kenya has key export products, what we call iconic products. That is tea, coffee, cut flowers, and then we're talking about nuts. But apart from that, Kenya is also has prowess within the manufacturing sector, especially within the regional market, that is COMESA and EAC. We export most of our products there. This is what we are showcasing, that we need to expand the boundaries, even go beyond COMESA and EAC, especially within the SCFTA. So this expo gives Kenya an opportunity to showcase that she sits at a very strategic position as a leader within the EAC and also sub-Saharan region, but also as a point whereby global companies can find an entry point into Africa. So this is what we are showcasing within the Expo 2020 Dubai.
Fantastic. Just take us through what we should expect today. I know there's the GCC meeting, and which areas of cooperation and trade are we looking to emphasize?
The role of government in any particular, I would say, sector is to facilitate conversations between private sector, is to provide the overarching, I would say, trigger. Like now what we're doing is that we appreciate that we're at Expo 2020 Dubai, but we're just looking beyond the Expo. We know that Kenya is yet to fully harness the potential of the Gulf Countries Council. So that right now we're only able to take up about 0.1% of what the entire Gulf region imports. But yet these are products that Kenya has potential in. That is products dealing with food, because we know that this region is a net importer of food. But
all right, and of course we'll be giving you so much more on that bilateral meeting that will be held later on today at the Expo 2020 being hosted in Dubai, the United Arab Emirates. Of course, Abia Gina is there, will be following us, furnishing us with the details of that bilateral meeting. Let's now have the discussion that we promised earlier on, and of course we want to talk about the job market in Kenya. It's the same story that we've given prominence on our Premier Financial Standard, which is a premier editorial that we produce on every Tuesday, talking about various economic and of course corporate news that is coming out, the corporate news that concerns you really. We want to, and the spread right there by Dominic Omondi is, are you looking for a job? You can't go wrong with these sectors. We want to look at which sectors those are. We want to also look at sectors that are shrinking and why this phenomenon is happening. But first off, let's give you a bit of perspective on this with numbers, shall we? So this is how the job market in Kenya is looking like. So the number of employees who are working permanently, both directly employed and of course indirectly, are 2.7 million. Well over 2.7 million Kenyans have permanent jobs, and these are people who are employed either directly or indirectly. Of course, the biggest chunk of these employers are the government. And we'll be looking at that phenomenon. We'll be asking one of my guests here today if that is the right phenomenon to have in a country like this. And of course, the majority of the jobs that are being churned out today are the teaching jobs, accounting for about 178,000. Let's give you more perspective on that. So how much can you expect to earn if you work for various organizations? You can be guaranteed to get 100,000 shillings or more if you work for international organizations. You're talking about the UN, the Amnesty International, and of course so many others that have made inroads into the Kenyan market. Banks, insurance and companies, where 7 out of 10 workers earn 50,000 shillings or more. Give you more numbers on this. Of course, this is data from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. The period under review was 2012 to 2022. Now, agriculture lost about 19,000 workers in the period under review. Then in mining, no employees earn above 100,000 Kenya shillings on a monthly basis. We'll be looking at why. Housekeepers equally have never earned above 1,000 US dollars, which of course, if you put to perspective now, is about 100,000 Kenya shillings. And the real estate sector, people earn less than 10,000 Kenya shillings. And of course, agriculture and mining, of course 33% of them earn below 20,000 Kenya shillings. That right there is the last slide of our data that we prepared for you on the state of employment in the country. My colleague Moiga William had, of course, an Us Live talking about what Kenyans are saying about the state of employment in the country. Now joining me for this discussion is Martha Mushiri, who is a HR consultant, and Steve Obiro, who is head of policy at the Federation of Kenya Employers. Gentleman, lady, good to have you today on the show.
How are you too, bro?
Great. So Martha, I'll start with you first. Why are we experiencing this shrink in the job market? Which jobs are losing popularity, if I may say so?
Jobs are there. A lot of them are losing popularity.
Okay.
And we can see that starting with the traditional jobs where you could find that you'll have the permanent employment. Currently, employers are not going the permanent way. And it's not their wish. It's because of the the daily development in the economy,
Okay.
you find that they are afraid of engaging employees on a permanent basis. Then when the market hit low, they don't know where to take these employees. They cannot retain them anymore, and they are loath to abide by them when they want to terminate these employees. Hence, that we see the move from having companies engaging employees on a permanent base to now coming to contract, either long-term contract that is up to 5 years or short-term 1 to 3 years.
Amazing. Good. Obiro, you are in charge of policy at the Federation of Kenya Employers. Is it a good phenomenon that the government is actually the biggest employer in the country?
Definitely it's not a good phenomenon because government is not in the productive sector. It's in the service sector. It's to facilitate
Definitely. And
the
regulate.
operations of the economy and regulate and provide policies that enable the economies to work. So we need more jobs in the private sector, more decent, good jobs in the private sector. And the phenomenon we are observing today is not something that has started with COVID. COVID has only accelerated it. As the Federation of Kenya Employers, we talked about this thing starting in 2015 when we said, wait a minute, there is something wrong in the economy because we saw the private sector was shrinking. It was growing at a shrinking rate, and then the informal sector was growing at an increasing rate. And we said this is not a good thing to do. And so what COVID has done, it has just brought what we already having at the forefront. It has just accelerated it. Now, if you look at the structure of our economy, traditionally we are an agricultural-based economy.
Sure.
If from the figures you see, you've just displayed on the screen. If you look at the 10-year period, you already find out that the agriculture sector has shrunk. 19,000 jobs have been lost if you compare on where we should be. And now, if you look at that, you should ask yourself: had we maintained the same trend of growth in the agriculture sector, what would we have gained in 10 years? Now, from our own analysis as the Federation of Kenya Employers, when we did our analysis during the COVID-19 pandemic period, when we had the restriction and all that, we found out that the companies or the economy was losing 8.3% of jobs annually. And that is not a good thing.
That's not a good phenomenon.
We need to have more private sector employment, more in the productive sector. We need to see a lot of manufacturing jobs. We need to see a lot of agricultural value addition and processing, a lot of those jobs in the economy, because those jobs are the ones that now can provide a backbone for even in the service sector. If you are, say, a lawyer, you can't operate in an economy where you don't have people in the productive sector.
Sure.
If you are in the service sector, if you are in the retail business, you want to sell your goods to somebody who has money, and there should be an economy sustaining that.
So there's that symbiotic relationship between all these industries.
Exactly. The economy works together, and you need to have more productive jobs from the productive sector for them to sustain even in the service sector and other areas, including the finance. If you are in the finance sector, you need financial services. You need people who come and banking. People who come and to the banking sector and bank the money or consume the financial services must be having a way on getting their incomes.
I'm going to come back to you with that question of how to make that happen. We're in an electionary period that has been poised as a very as an economical revolutionary election. Of course, it's a transition election. I'm going to come to you on this one, on how to make all this possible in our economy. Martha, I'm going to ask you, so where are the jobs? Where are the opportunities? Where are the new opportunities? Because we are noticing that there's a shrink in the traditional, in what we have always known as jobs in the country. Where then are the new opportunities?
Well, jobs are there, but not as they were there before.
Okay.
And currently, if you find that you want to be in the job market, you have, of course, to run with the way technology is running. You find that we have moved from the traditional way of working in the traditional workplace, whereby you find back then employers could have full-time employees, and currently you find that most of the time you'll have them having employees on a short-term basis. Okay. There are those who will be contracted like interns to come and help only when the job is bulky, and then later on the employer wants to remain with employees that they can really be able to sustain in the job market. Okay. As my colleague Steve here said, it's a chain. the economy is a chain. If the manufacturing industries are not there to create job, or now the private sector is not there to create job, you'll find that even you in the service environment, when you want to hire a finance person, why are you hiring a finance person when there is no finances to count? There are no money to count.
Wow.
Yeah? If you want to be a finance person, you must first of all have work that this person will bring on board for you to do. But you find that a lot of jobs are moving in the technology, whereby you find even the financial institutions are moving into the fintech, where transactions are done using the mobile at the comfort of your home.
They're now more customized.
Yes. I'll give an example like the banking sector. You see, previously the banking halls used to be full.
Sure.
Currently, when you walk into a banking hall, you'll see about 10 to 15 people.
Sure.
Where you want to tell me the banks don't have customers? They still do have these customers.
There's only a shift in
yes,
the
there's a
place
shift of now the traditional way of doing things to the advancement of the technology, where everything now is coming back to running through the technology. And as people who are looking for jobs, we should now be able to be conversant with the technology that is coming up. Even when the employer has opportunities that you can feel, when you go for the interviews, you don't feel empty or you're not suitable for that job. You already have the skills to offer to the employer, and that way you'll get the job.
Steve, allow me to introduce an appendage to this discussion, which is the gig economy that Martha has alluded to. We are seeing more trends into the technological world. People are finding jobs on the technological platforms, but the question that we are now addressing, and of course we've had the discussion with Martha before, and she said that now the biggest question is how to make the gig economy sustainable. How do we get there from a policy perspective?
Of course, the gig economy is an emerging economy.
Sure.
And from policy perspective, we need to ensure that we provide policies, we provide the legal framework to support the operation of the gig economy. But there is another thing we need to look at. And I want to take an example of where we are developing platforms for marketing of products. Now, which products are you marketing? Are you developing a platform to market the Kenyan products, or you are developing a platform to market products from outside Kenya, or from outside Africa, from China, from the European Union and all that?
Okay.
We need that economy to be linked to our real economy. If we are marketing products, and Brana, I'll tell you, in Africa we have the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement that has been agreed. What is the essence of that? Is to ensure that Africa is able to trade with Africa.
Sure.
We are able to move our goods and sell within Africa. But you can't move your goods and sell with your products and sell within Africa if you don't have the products.
Sure.
So we need to be developing our own products. We need to look at where is our manufacturing base, where do we have these products. We are agricultural based economy. We need to ensure that there is value addition in our agricultural products, and that we have put them to the level where they can compete in the economy, so that when we develop even marketing platforms, then we are developing we are marketing our products. We can sell our products anywhere in Africa and even outside Africa. If we do that, then the economy itself will start growing. There will be a spiral effect.
Sure.
You will see that effect even on the revenues that the government collects. You will see that effect on the other products, other sectors, whether it is a real estate sectors, the construction, and all the sectors that we have, including the education. But if we don't have that growth in the real economy, we are going to have a challenge.
I wish I'd say trickle down or bottom up, but depending on which lenses you wear, really, the trickle down or bottom up. But I like how you are interrelating all these factors, all these sectors of the economy. I now want to give each and every one of you 2 minutes at least to weigh in on this matter. Now, how do we make the private sector the bigger employer? I'll go with you, Martha, first. What policies do we need in place? What structures do we need to put in place? We have seen things like power reforms. We have seen things like easing up of trade barriers. We have, of course, he alluded to it with the conversation about the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement. But then how do we make the private sector the bigger employer in an economy like this? Martha?
For the government to make the private sector the bigger employer, they have to look at what is that bottleneck that is getting hold of the private sector.
Sure.
What is making it not for it to thrive? Yeah. So to begin with, let me to be on on a better way say that we have seen the way taxes have been brought into the market by the government. You find that whenever the government wants to bring in revenue on its end, they are going for the taxes. So we also have other regulations that have put in place. Yes, they have opened up the market for the free trade, but are they supportive into the innovation world? You see, currently our Kenyan market is mostly comprising of the youth. The youth are at a bigger number.
Sure.
And they are becoming creative each and every day. When these youth become creative and they want to be now in the private sector, they start as a micro business, then SME. One day these are the bigger people who will come in the economy, and now there will be the bigger private sector.
Sure.
How is the government supporting that? Yeah? If the government can really support each and every innovation that is coming up, from any youth that shows they have the capacity to develop anything that is new in the market, that is when we are going to enlarge more. This market.
Great. Powering the startups. Amazing. Steve, you're 1 minute 30 in how to make the private sector the bigger employer in the country.
The first thing, before an investor comes to the country, or even a local investor invests, he wants to know that the labor, the regulatory framework is going to be stable, it's going to be predictable.
Okay.
It is not going to change in between. The rules of the game are not going to change in between.
Are not going to be shifted.
Yes, and so we need that stability and predictability in the way we do our regulatory framework. And then the other thing you need is the easing of doing business, to simplify it, make it easy for somebody to do business in the country, and then. You need a tax regime that is more facilitative. And I would just pick an example. We know in Kenya we are grappling with how do we raise the revenues to meet the different challenges, socioeconomic challenges that we have. And the thing has been, can we get many people pay the tax? How do you get many people pay the tax? We are talking of employment. Almost 15 million of Kenyans are in the informal sector employment. Those people have businesses, have small businesses and everything. You need to empower them so that these businesses can move from being a small from informal enterprises to big established businesses that then can generate wealth for the country. If we do that, we'll see a lot of business activity in the private sector. So the government should facilitate business.
Okay.
That's the bottom line.
That's the bottom line.
Facilitate business. Let the private sectors drive the economy. Let them be able to produce and put in place for policies that will get them access the different types of markets. Let them be competitive. If we are competing with products from Egypt and from other regions, we are in COMESA. We need to remain competitive. Do not put in regulations that are going to stifle the private sector, that are going to make business to be very costly. And these piecemeal regulations that are coming in place, for example, you've seen there is a change in the NHIF Act. You've seen there is an introduction of different levies. Let's have a consolidated way where we are looking at the impact wholesomely, so that then we can facilitate the private sector.
Steve, we can have this discussion the whole day. I can see the passion that you have for the private sector, but many thanks. So thank you so much for finding time for us on KTN News on Business Cafe today. We'll be speaking to Steve Obiro, who is the head of policy at the Federation of Kenya Employers, and I've been speaking also to Martha Mushiri, who is a private human resource consultant here in Nairobi. I'm Brian Jojotieno. Many thanks for your invaluable company. We had suspended the conversation about the central bank digital currency to tomorrow. That is the discussion we'll be having tomorrow right here on Business Cafe, your dawn business update, only on KTN News, the only name in business. Let's meet tomorrow, same place, same time. Good morning, Africa.